And welcome back to On the Hash with Hatfield. It is our YouTube channel, the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. Like, share, and subscribe with that as we talk with you each and every week about the high school football scene and so much more around the 757 area code in the entire state of Virginia. We're pleased to be joined by one of the very best in the business, longtime sports scribe for the Virginian-Pilot Daily Press as well. You can find his work on 757teams.com, pilotonline.com, dailypress.com. Give him a follow on Twitter or X. I think it is Larry Rubama, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, man.
Proud Ohio U alumnus. He's got the Ohio Bobcats emblem on today, Larry Rubama. Larry, how's life treating here? It's getting close to Christmas, and I imagine you haven't done any shopping like I haven't done any shopping.
I haven't even thought about it. You know who I'm buying gifts for, man. It's just it's busy time. You know, as we talked before, man, that overlap between football and basketball. Basketball coaches are saying, "Are you coming to my games?" I said, "Look, I'm still got football." You know, and they don't realize how busy it is.
Listen, Larry, I made the dreaded mistake, although it was kind of worth it. I went from the Maury Indian River game we were both at in the state semis in the rain last Saturday at Powhatan Field to a basketball event at Princess Anne. I got home that night. I fell asleep. I don't even remember where I fell asleep at. It was on the couch, on the bed, the recliner. It might have been on the floor for all I know. I was just to participate the next morning. And then I have my 7-year-old niece tugging, and I see you with the wife on Facebook with the grandkids. They're wanting to, do Christmas decorations and put this on the TV. And I'm like, I'm done today. I can't move.
She gave me some energy because I just seen her face. I had to do it, man. I had to do it for her, but I got the energy, and I felt she gave me some energy, so it was good. It was good.
Let's dive into these games. Enough about our family life and Christmas decorations, all that babble, because we've got some exciting matchups across the entire state of Virginia, all 6 championship games, which we'll have scrolling across our ticker, the scores from last week, as well as the matchups on deck for University of Virginia coming up on Saturday, Liberty, as well as out in Salem. But let's start with, I think, the giant matchup that people are looking forward to, Chapter 3 of the Maury Stonebridge side. Now, we saw the one in 2019 where the Commodores got out to the big lead, a couple of touchdowns by Keandre Lambert-Smith, who's now at Penn State. Stonebridge came roaring back. Commodores held them off. A couple of years ago, it was Heartbreak Hotel for Maury. They had a lead in that game. The last 5 minutes, Jacob Thomas throws 2 touchdown passes, one of which went to Zeke Wimbush, which made SportsCenter on the final play of the game. As you look at this matchup for Chapter 3, I don't want to make the folks from Nova mad, but I've kind of gone out publicly and said, I'm not sure it's going to be that close this time. I just look at Maury, and they look like a machine. And the offense, I compare them a little bit to, Larry, you watched a lot of great football, is they remind me a little bit of that 2008 Oscar Smith offense that had Philip Sims and Perry Jones, but they might have more weapons than that offense, which is saying something because that offense was loaded with Tim Smith and a bunch of receivers.
Yeah, I think that team had 4 guys that went Division I at wide receiver. I mean, and a great quarterback, a great running back. And I agree with you, Matt. It's like they're so talented. My only fear is because Maury has not seen an offense like this, you wonder how it's going to take them time to kind of adjust. But DeRee knows how to do that. Privet knows how to do that. They know how to adjust, but that's my only concern. And I think it'll be coming in the paper tomorrow. I think I picked Maury by 3 touchdowns, but it's still the fear factor because Mickey, their coach, Stonebridge coach, has been there for a long time. So Mickey Thompson has been there, done it many times. But I know that Maury wants this one bad. They want it really, really bad, and I believe they're going to do it. I really do. I believe they're going to do it.
I think so too, Larry. And you bring up Mickey Thompson, what a great coach he is. Doree McCain's done a wonderful job at Maury. The thing that jumps out at me about this game, you bring up that offense, which is very difficult to deal with, the single wing. They had a special player at quarterback in Jacob Thomas a couple years ago. Now they have Brendan Pena, who's good, but I don't think they have that scary guy on offense, whereas Maury has more of your scary guys. It's obviously a very fundamentally disciplined attack. But when you look at this game, I think the misconception is that Maury's all throw. The last 2 meetings, they've actually outgained Stonebridge in rushing, whereas Stonebridge has had more passing in these matchups. What do you think about sort of the backs for Maury real quickly against that Stonebridge defense? I think they can stay pretty balanced. How about you?
I do too. I missed part of you cut out, but when you talk about Maury's running backs, they got 3 running backs, 1 that went over 1,000 yards, 2 that went over 800 yards. They got a quick one, they got a one that's kind of like a little power one. I think having those 3 different options is going to keep Stonebridge on their toes. And then of course you got 5 wide receivers. They got 20 or more catches, led by LeBron Bond, who has over 1,000 yards. I just think their offense. Who are you gonna try to stop? You can't stop 1. You can't stop 2. You can't stop 3. They got so many different weapons, and I think that's going to be the key for Maury. And then, of course, Torrey has been playing fantastic. He can throw the ball, but he's also a dangerous runner. And I think that's going to also play an impact. If they try to stop the rushing game, the passing game, he can just go back, look for his holes and take off. And, he's over 4,000 all-purpose yards. It's been a long time since we've seen that.
Yeah, and I think we have to commend both these teams for the schedules they play, Larry, because not only did Maury play Highland Springs and Dinwiddie and Wise and Dream McKean beat up the schedule, but look at Mickey Thompson's first 4 games. I mean, he played Good Counsel, which you know a little bit about.
Yeah,
he played,
a little bit about them. Yeah.
Madison. He played some heavy hitters. Martinsburg out of West Virginia. Quince Orchard.
Which won the state title? Yeah, they won the state title.
I think they were looking at it when they looked in August, September. They had an idea they would see each other again. It's been every couple of years, and here we are again.
And I agree totally. I mean, I remember talking to DeRee when he said, "Man, he told me the schedule." And then don't forget, they also scrimmaged Gonzaga and Phoebus. So he knew that he wanted to have these guys ready. I got a story that's going to be running in tomorrow's paper that's talking about the seniors and how he really wants this for the seniors. They've been there. They went through COVID. They lost the last 2 times in the state finals, including that one on the last second pass. And he really wants it for them, and they want it. They want it really bad. And I think that's gonna. I just think I can't see Maury losing this game. I really can't. But it's going to be a good one, man. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'll have the call on the NFHS Network along with Andy Hayes there at UVA, and Larry will have all the coverage for you with the great folks from the Pilot, 757teams.com, Daily Press as well, and follow them on Twitter or X at LH Rubama for Larry and 757teams, TEAMZ. Larry, before we move off this game, what's the one matchup you're most curious about? Is it an individual, receiver versus defensive back? Is it the pass rush getting to Torrey Newkirk if Stonebridge can get him off this game? Yeah. The Maury offense trying to run the ball, or maybe like you said, that defense against the singling. What's the one or two matchups that you're most intrigued about in this game?
The two that I'm looking at is one. Is Maury able to adapt to that Stonebridge offense? It's different. We don't see, like I said, we don't see teams out here running that. And Maury's done a good job stopping everybody else. The only team I thought that had an interesting offense was Dinwiddie. So, but that's going to be the key. And then I just think also Stonebridge is big. And on the defensive line, and how is Maury's offensive line going to be able to battle against them? They're the ones that make them go. That offensive line, we had a story in today's paper about them that they've been geared for this. And the one thing that they've done that they didn't do 2 years ago when they played against Stonebridge is now they got an offensive line, they got a defensive line. Nobody's going both ways. I think that's a huge key for Maury. They're not going to get tired like they did when they played Stonebridge a while back. And I think, that's key. When you have a team that gets worn down like that, by the third or fourth quarter, the other team is just running all over them. But I think with Maury, I'm really interested to see how Maury's offensive line will do against Stonebridge defensive line.
Is that the common thread, Larry, for whatever team it is comes out of the 757, whether it be, in this case, Maury, Lake Taylor over the years, Oscar Smith, you get some of the beach schools like Ocean Lakes and Bayside in recent years, Western Branch last year made it to a state semifinal. If you don't have linemen that can go, I guess depth in the trenches, you can't stop some of these big boys from Nova or even be other parts of the state, Richmond, Roanoke for that matter. Is that pretty much what it boils down to in your eyes?
I think so. The team I'll never forget, I remember when my son played for Bayside and they beat Oscar Smith in that region final. And then they played, I think it was Hermitage. And they were in the game with Hermitage for a half, but that third, fourth quarter, they just got worn out. And that's why it's so important. You think about you've been playing since August. Your body's gonna get tired. And then you add in the enthusiasm, the adrenaline that you have from a football game like a state championship. All that wears on you too. So that's what I think the key is that offensive and defensive line. And when I talked to the Maury's coaches, the one thing they said was being able to have an offensive line and a defensive line was the biggest thing they knew. And they realized they learned that from the last time when they lost to Stonebridge in the final.
I've said earlier on the pod, Larry, I'm going to see if you feel before we get to the Phoebus and Lafayette games, that I feel like and this is no slight to Highland Springs or Stonebridge, which are great teams, but I think our takeaway coming out of UVA Saturday could be, man, I wish we could have gotten a Maury Freedom matchup just because Freedom's offense is putting up over 60 a game. They set the state record last year, and Maury's at about 58, 59 a game. Wouldn't that be a dream matchup if we already had the cross brackets to get the two teams from the state semis we thought we'd have now in the state finals in Class 6 with Freedom Highland Springs, but wouldn't it be such a delight if we had a Maury Freedom State Championship matchup, and perhaps in the future, because these two teams are loaded with a bunch of good juniors?
I would love to see, man. I'm telling you, look, man, they can have us all come back again the following week and go back up to Virginia. They can play the game then, right? Just what's
We'll
another
delay
week?
basketball a few more weeks. Why not? Who cares? It's all right.
Exactly. We're still in 2023, so let them go ahead and play that game. But no, I agree. That's what everybody's gonna be saying when we leave that game on Saturday. Everybody's gonna be saying, man, what happened if those two teams played against each other? So.
And listen, we can have Highland Springs and Stonebridge play each other. They played some great games.
That would be a good one too.
They went to overtime a couple years ago. Well, we can have that. It doesn't have to even be a consolation game. You can just have two redo championships if you want.
I would like that. I like that.
Yeah. How about Phoebus here? You've seen Phoebus. You and Marty O'Brien have covered them from wall to wall here. I mean, their defense is unreal. That Warwick game. I mean, all the talk was about the Warwick defense, which, by the way, Maury heard about that, and they got a little motivated by that in their regional championship.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a tad, just a pinch. But my goodness, that defensive front is ferocious. I think they've given up 44 points on the year. Think back to some of the great defenses you've covered over the years. I mean, there's been a bunch of them. Oscar Smith's had some.
Oscar Smith had one. Right.
I mean, the Hampton legendary 90s run. Their defense, if they finish this off on Saturday against Salem, which, by the way, has a running back going to Tennessee and Peyton Lewis, who had almost 400 yards in the game last week, which is insane. They've got two All-Americans, and Chris Cole going to Georgia at linebacker, Peyton Lewis going to Tennessee. But it feels like nobody on this side of the state, other side of the state, they might feel this way, that nobody thinks Phoebus is going to lose this game. How about you?
I don't think they are either. I mean, even though the one thing that did concern me early on was the fact that when their quarterback went down, but that freshman came in and they haven't missed a beat. But that with Stevenson and Reddick, and then you got all the other guys at linebacker. I mean, their defense. I mean, Blunt has those guys playing, and they realize that we can't let this be the year that Phoebus loses, and I believe that's how they're playing it. I mean, they are really, really strong. When I saw them play the game against Warwick, I mean, very few. Warwick couldn't do much against them. I think it was maybe the third or fourth quarter when they started to move the ball a little bit, but they're tough. They are really tough, and they know they're no nonsense as well. They're going to stop whatever you can do. If you can pass it, we're going to show you how to shut down the pass. You're going to run the ball, we're going to shut down the middle. And I think I like Phoebus' chances. I really do.
Yeah, their roots were laid by the late, great Bill D., who obviously coached Oscar Smith before he passed away, and then Stan Sexton carried it on, and Jeremy Blunt, who played for Coach D, now trying to go for a three-peat, which is so hard to do, 34 straight wins. And I was thinking about this the other day because someone brought it up to me, Larry. I can't even recall, even when they've played Oscar Smith and teams, on the other side of the water, I can't recall even anybody that they've had success with them, but running the ball on them, A, and then B, you never think of Phoebus with even all the great players they've produced. Taj Boyd, it was a great quarterback.
Yeah.
Sean Alston, this receiver, this playmaker, that guy. You don't think them being a flashy, explosive offense. It's just workmanlike and old school football, right?
Ground it out. Grind it out. Run it. Throw a little pass here and there. Run it again. They always got 2 or 3 running backs who don't mind doing it. And then it comes down to field position. They seem to find a way to be able to get you. Have to punt the ball to them, and they get the ball around midfield, and then that's when the offense attacks. As I watched that game against Warwick, I just kept thinking, as anybody, when I made the prediction, I was like, I can't believe I said it was going to be like 21 points for one and 14 for the other. I don't know what I was thinking with those two defenses like that, but Phoebus, they, like I said, they get locked in and they get the job done. They might give up a little play here and there, but they find a way to be able to shut it down.
Well, I don't know about you. I was jealous of my guy, Will Garlick, maybe like you were of Marty, that we were at the Maury 55-0 shellacking of Indian River. They got to see the great game that was 13-12 going into the fourth quarter. And you think, well, how's that a great game? And you hear people say, oh, it was so physical and tough. There was 2 safeties. There was 2 field goals. There was a punt return for a score. They still play an exciting brand of football, even though it's different than maybe what people have become accustomed to over the years with, say, Oscar Smith's offense in the 2000s when Lansdowne had Percy Harvin under Chris Beatty. And the aired out attacks that Maury's now got with Drew McCain leading the way in this Artori Newkirk, who's certainly looking like a player of the year candidate, not just at the regional and district level, perhaps in the state if he gets it done on Saturday. But they're a different type of team, yet they play an intense brand of football.
They do, and again, I know just like with Maury, they kind of feed off of Dree and the other coaches' persona. It seems like Phoebus does the same thing. You see how intentional Blunt is. You see how direct he is, and that's how they play as a defense. They dare you to do something, and then the thing is, can you adjust to what they do? I just like the way the intensity they come with it when they play.
They've got a swagger, and they've got monikers and nicknames just like Maury does, and Lake Taylor with Hank Sawyer's teams do. They we heard the Salem defense call their defense the Black D. I think they're called the Black Ops or the Phoebus defensive guys.
I did see it. Yeah.
They've used. As we move to the Lafayette game, so you're picking Phoebus in that one, correct?
Yes, I am. Yep.
As am I. I took the bait against King George last week, and I was burned. I'll admit it. I was right for 3/4. I even told Mike Privet last week on the sideline after the Maury game. He was like, "Oh, he's going to give the Phoebus people as he didn't love him from his playing days at Lake Taylor a hard time." But obviously, nice rally for Jeremy Blunt's team to get it done against the Fox's team with two great receivers and Mekhi White going to Maryland and Chance Wiggins headed to Virginia Tech. How about Lafayette? This was like the hardest team in the 757 to get it done. Andy Lynn's had a great year. They took out Lake Taylor and Heritage decisively in the region semis and finals. Got it done in the state semis against Brentsville District on the road. But this Liberty Christian team is no joke. They got a running back going to Clemson, and it could be the first private school to win a VHSL Public School State Football Championship.
On top of that, well, the one thing is, like I said, Lafayette has had a great season. One of the things I thought, we thought that it might be a rebuilding season when the season first began, and it hasn't been. They've been able to keep rolling. But the thing about this one is, not only are they playing against a tough opponent, but it's basically a home game for Liberty Christian. They're playing, they're playing in their backyard, and I think that's gonna have a huge effect because you have all those home people that are able to come see the game, sleep in your own bed, all those different types of things that definitely play a part, especially in a game that's going to be very emotional. And just like you said, I saw the roster, I saw what they've done this year. Liberty Christian, they look tough. I think I'm picking Liberty Christian because the game is at Liberty. I just feel that as great a season Lafayette has had, I think it comes to an end on Saturday.
Yeah, I think in talking about Marty too, I think the offensive line for Lafayette averages just under 200 pounds. I think in a lot of ways, this is no slight to them. This is a kudos. I think they've overachieved for what they've had. Injuries. Exactly. You get to this level, you're playing in Liberty's. I said backyard today. They said backyard. It's their front yard. They play basically on the surface. So it's like a home game for them, a home away from their home field.
Yeah. And that makes a huge difference. I mean, you're traveling, you're coming up from driving up there, and you're excited, but they're a familiar surroundings, familiar atmosphere. That plays a huge part.
Yeah, I think if they got in front, it feels like the two games where I don't even know if the Maury Stonebridge game, the lead matters early for those two teams because they've both been able to show them the ability to come back. But I feel like if you're going to beat Phoebus, you have to get in front. And if you're Lafayette, if you can win this game, you've got to get an early lead and play that wing tee smash mouth football against Liberty Christian and dare them to throw like Phoebus did a couple years ago when they got interceptions and held them off at the end.
Right, and you got to, as every coach says, you look for those big plays, a play here, play there. You got to have something that goes your way to kind of turn the momentum towards you, and they got to take that crowd out of the game. So they need to jump on them early, and then just maintain as you keep going through. So I'm not saying that Lafayette can't win, that's for sure, but I just feel like being that the game is being played in Liberty, it's like you said, it's a home game for them.
Yeah, it really is. I'll get you on this one. We appreciate the time here. I could talk with you all day, and I'll see you up at UVA on Saturday. Larry, tell the folks what they can find on the paper and online for your work for the state championships. And I can't tell you how many times I get tapped. This is football, and this is a compliment to you and your team over there. They tap me and they say, "Hey, when's all Tidewater coming out for football and basketball?" You got to ask Rubama. I said, "I'm not the one doing that." So tell the folks, give me an ETA. You don't have to give me the exact day and hour, but give them an idea when it'll be out in the paper, how they can find it, and get their copy of that for the fall sports and football.
Yeah, I believe. Look, I believe it's going to be around Christmas time. I know, in fact, we'll be doing the voting coming up. We've done a little bit already. I believe it's Christmas time, around that time, and they try to make it a big time. But it would definitely be this month. Looking forward to it. People don't realize, I see all these guys who make the all-region and all-state teams. We're now dealing with teams in 5 different divisions: 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then, of course, in 5, you got 2 regions. So just keep looking at 757 teams. Follow me as well as LH Rubama. And the other thing I'll do too is when we LH Rubama. Well, I'll be putting out different stuff when it looks like we're gonna have it, so I can get people to start looking towards it. But I've told a lot of kids have told me, we care about all Tidewater instead of all state, and I'm like, man, I appreciate that. But it's a very hard team to pick, especially now the fact that we're picking not only on the south side but also the north side as well on the peninsula, and it makes it a very, very tough choices to make. But I enjoy it, and like you, Matt, you and I both do this. We try to get the recognition to the kids, man. They work so hard, as well as the coaches, and we do it for them. And believe me, I could care less about me, but it's about the kids.
Absolutely. You do a fantastic job with it. And it's a badge of
Thanks,
honor
man.
for those that make it. I know a lot of coaches say that they remember when they were all titled. I've run
Yeah.
into all different football coaches and basketball coaches that we've covered now. We feel like
Yeah.
old men. I mean, I just
Yeah.
got to give you a funny one, Larry, before I let you on. I got the other day, I don't even know this. I saw it on Facebook. Ramon Snowden, who we covered at Kellogg's, now the girls basketball coach at Cox. I'm like, how old am I? I remember when he was an 8th grader. I feel like, that made me feel ancient when I
Man.
heard that just the other day. So, I mean, but it's true. And it's all you hear about usually is the ones that they say were the snubs. You never hear about, oh, yeah, you got that one right, or that was a good call.
Right. No. Yeah.
That's how it always is with these teams, but we all do it for the kids' sake, for sure.
That's what we do it for, And I remember when I was in high school, and I remember the different teams that they had, and it's an honor to be able to be named to these types of teams. And so, we don't take it lightly. We don't take it lightly at all. We don't take it lightly at all. So we make sure we try to put everything we can into it.
Awesome work. That's Larry Rubama from the Virginian-Pilot Daily Press, 757teams.com. Find him online at pilotonline.com as well. He'll have coverage free at the State Football Championships. Safe travels to Charlottesville, my friend. I'll see you there, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. You be safe as well, Matt. You take care. Get some rest. I know that's an oxymoron, but get some rest.
Yeah, I'll do that maybe come Monday when I end up passing out on the floor somewhere with my niece jumping on me and needing to go to school or something. But that is the one and only Larry Rubama. We'll come back with more here to put the finishing touches on this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, whether you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, Virginia Preps. And, of course, we've got more to come your way, and we'll hear from our sponsors right now at the Plex. Stay tuned.